welcome to my channel. I'm Nural and I'm here with another analog photography video. In my last video, I talked about long exposures, and today I will be talking about light painting, which is a type of long exposure. As I said in the beginning, today I will be talking about one of the techniques that is done using long exposure. And if you haven't watched my previous video or not really familiar with what long exposure is, I'm just gonna link it up here so you can watch that video as well. And if you are familiar with the technique but not sure what light painting is, this is what you need to watch right now. And what light painting is like I said, a type of technique that you can do using a long exposure in your camera. And for this, the main thing you're gonna need is a camera that has long exposure capabilities, so a bulb mode. And in this case, like I have right here my Lomo'Instant Automat. And this one has 2 exposure settings. And one of them is A here, which is auto mode. And it changes the exposure time based on the light in the place that you're at. So like right now, when I press the shutter in auto mode, it's gonna come out really quickly because it's quite lighted in here. And the second setting here is B for bulb. And when you set it to bulb, the shutter inside the camera stays open as long as you press this button here. And well, the maximum is 30 seconds for this camera, but you can bypass it by setting it to MX as well, so that you can do 30, 30, 30 on top of each other to make it even longer. But otherwise, when you press it down, it's gonna open the curtain inside, and it will stay open until you take your finger away. And then if the flash is on, it's gonna burst the flash, and if the flash is off, it's gonna just let out your photo. So the first thing you need for light painting is such a camera. And you can also use other cameras that have the bulb setting in them. So like in my case, I could actually use my LCA, well, not the LCA, because it doesn't officially have a bulb mode, but you can sort of bypass it and confuse the camera by changing the ISO speed on it. But otherwise, I have bulb mode in my Leica and my Fisheye 2, my Sprocket Rocket, Diana Mini, so any one of those would work. And the reason I'm showing it on this is because I'm just gonna take a couple photos for you now so that it makes more sense. And the second thing you need is, of course, a light source. And for that, you can use either a lighter like this. So I can just draw something with this. Or I had these sparklers, I think they're called, from like 2 years ago, New Year's. So they were lying around. So I'm going to use one of these as well. And what else you can use is a LED light source, like a little keychain light or something like that. And the important thing is that it's not too bright so that it doesn't overpower the image, the photo. And if it's something like this, then you can just write something out or draw something out onto your photo. And the third thing that's important that you're gonna need is darkness. And the reason for that is when you keep the shutter open in your camera, it keeps letting light in. And what happens is, like in this light situation here in my dining room, kitchen, living room, whatever, we have an open plan here. So anyways, what happens here is I have a window on my side, and even though I closed all the curtains, 30 seconds ended up being like this. So it ended up being way too light. And that's why I'm saying that you need darkness. So what you can do is, if you have a room or a bathroom like without any windows, you can use that. Or you can go out at night to do light painting in some place like a park or something. Just make sure you don't get too many lights from the the cars, or if you have like buildings with like neon signs and stuff, that would all affect the result. So if you want to write something out, make sure that you have darkness and that no other lights will interfere. And in my case, we have a sauna in our apartment here in Finland, and I will be shooting a couple of photos there. So let me just show you what I do. So you just watched how I shot a couple photos in the sauna, and we're just lucky we have one in the apartment, as in our like flat, as opposed to a shared one in the apartment, so that I'm able to do stuff like this. And what I did is I shot a few photos, like I said, with my automat in bulb mode. And one of the first ones I did is the sparkler. And this shot a total of 30 seconds, and it closed automatically because it reached the maximum level. And I didn't burst the flash at all, so the flash was closed in this. And if I shot this in the auto mode, what would happen is I would just get few spots of light, but nothing like this. So here I can actually see the sparkler lights going off like lines all around, and I'm behind here, but you don't really see me because I didn't burst the flash on myself. And in order to do this all by myself, what I used was this remote control that the automat has, and this is it has two settings. So one is instant, so it's like auto exposure, and the other, it says time here. So what happens with this mode is when you press it first, it opens the shutter and stays open on up to 30 seconds. Or if you press it a second time before the 30 seconds is up, it's gonna close it up. So you will have like a 15-second exposure or a 20-second exposure. Depends on what you want. But this allowed me to shoot this all by myself, being behind the sparklers here with the camera in front of me. And another thing I did is, again, without the flash, was this one. And you can see my lovely drawing skills of hearts, which is all crooked, but you get the idea. It is a heart of sorts. And what I did in this one is I used the lighter and I just drew it out like this. And again, I didn't have the flash, so you don't really see me behind there. And another one I did is, again, the same situation, but this one also I burst the flash. So you actually see my funky facial expression in the back there. So the difference between these two is this one also had the flash. And you can do that. And another thing I tried was writing my name out. And for this, what you need to think about is how it's going to be exposed onto the image. And I actually talked a little bit about writing things out on your photos in my masking video, where I used a couple texts on images. And I'm going to link it as well, so you can go back if you're curious about what I mean. But otherwise, what you need to do is write it in reverse. So what I would normally do is start with N and go towards this side when I'm spelling out Nural, my name. And for this image, what I needed to do is start from this side and then go towards the left, so that the photo actually has my name right side up. And it's not too bad considering I was in total darkness when I wrote my name with the lighter here. So I think it works pretty well. So all of these were actually shot using the same technique, which is keeping your camera still and then moving the light source in front of it. And I have my little tripod and that I use for these types of situations. So that is one technique, and let me just show you a few more examples that I used for this. So all of the photos that I just showed you, including the ones I shot today, were done using the same technique, which is keeping the camera still and moving the light source. And another thing you can do is keeping the light source still and moving the camera. And what I mean by that is, so let's just assume that I'm shooting a photo of you. And what I would do then is press my shutter and then move the camera to get more light into it. And in the Automat's case, since the flash bursts last, what would make more sense is I would press it, move it around to gather sort of like a spiral shaped light into the camera, and then let it go so that the flash bursts onto you if I was shooting a photo of you, my viewer. And again, like I would do it with myself as well. What I would do is just move it around, and then that would end up getting all the light from the room I'm in, like if there was like a light bulb, turning it into sort of like a painting or a design or a drawing onto the image. And then when I burst the flash at last before leaving the shutter button, what would happen is it would expose light onto me so that I would be visible as well. And this is a technique you can use if you're out having fun with friends at a pub or somewhere, or you're at a concert, and where else? You can also do this when you're outside shooting, and the difference is, like I said, in this one you hold the camera steady and write it out with a light source that you're holding in your hand, whereas in when you're moving the camera, you get help from the light that's in the place you're at. So if there are like different lights at a concert or a pub, what you do is when you move the camera, those end up being exposed onto the image. So let me just show you a couple of examples to make more sense. I just talked about two different options for doing light paintings. One being keeping the camera steady and moving the light source, and the second being keeping the light source still and moving the camera. And I hope it makes sense, and I hope you had fun watching this little video. And if you have any questions about any of this, anything I talked about, just drop me a line in the comments and I'll get back to you. And otherwise, if you haven't done so, please make sure that you subscribe to my channel and hit the bell button so you don't miss any of the upcoming videos. I try to upload every week, so I hope I'll see you next time. Bye!